Hey everybody, welcome into Auto Rhythm Fantasy Studios. I'm your host, Jamie, and I got my co-host Eli over there on the other side. Welcome in, everybody. It is a lovely, cold, brisk Wednesday
Ooh,
or no,
ooh,
Monday night. Monday night. I almost said Wednesday, but actually it's a Monday night.
oh,
so
oh,
whenever
it's
you might be watching this, it is a brisk Monday night over here.
Jay, it's freezing. It's freezing.
Oh,
We're up here in South
brother, this
Dakota.
guy stinks.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know why I hit that, but I mean, yeah, it
it
stinks
worked.
that it's
It's
cold.
it's fine. I thought you were gonna hit the. I thought you were gonna hit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
there we go.
supposed to hit that one, but
I,
but yeah,
no, it's
old man weather stinks for sure.
hell yeah, it does. It's cold up here. We're in South Dakota. I'm a couple hours south of Jamie. So I mean, there's not much. There's a couple degrees difference, but yeah, it's freezing. It's supposed to be up by the Canadian border, up by Minot and Williston, North Dakota. It's supposed to be like negative 33 tonight, negative 35, something crazy. Wind chill like negative 60. So yeah, it's a frigid night. I mean, it's cold out right now. I think where I'm at, it's negative 10 right now. We're filming at about 7 o'clock. So yeah, it's freezing, cold, but that's why we're gonna warm everybody up with a little Pat Bryant. He's going to be our spotlight tonight. Illinois receiver. He's kind of been a notable name, especially since his big week at the Senior Bowl. So we're going to dive into Pat. We both like Pat a lot, so this should be a lot of fun. But Jay, tell them where they can go in the meantime here. Like where can they
Oh,
find us?
in the meantime, I mean, if you don't catch us, our recordings or live streams, we always have that lovely audio side. You catch us in Spotify, your Apple Pods, or wherever else those might be. You might catch us at, but they'll run those audio platforms. But yeah, if you would like to subscribe to our channel, I mean, we would really most appreciate that. We're still growing in those aspects, but I mean, it's coming along. And we have a little bird there and an X. So I mean, it's a Twitter X thing going on over here or some crap like that. But you can catch us on those platforms, and then we got the lovely old Discord, and it's kind of coming alive here a little bit. And now that will always be in the description below. And then we have the Instagram too. So you just over there at Algorithm Fantasy Sports. You can find us over there. Give us a follow over there if you greatly appreciate that. But yeah, that's where they all can find us.
Yeah, if you like what we do, like
Yeah.
he was saying, yeah, like, subscribe, do all that jazz. Helps us out, and helps us build this up a little bit because we're kind of we're kind of on an island right now, trying to track down guys. We've done some projected first rounders, we've done some projected fifth rounders. We're trying to mix. You got to diversify the profile, as they say. So we're mixing it up a little bit, trying to find a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of us doing this. And this is our second year, diving into these college spotlights for you guys. And the first time we kind of did this, it kind of hit for everybody and whatnot. And we figured this next year it'll be a little bit more spicier than what we learned from the first year of doing this.
Oh, spicy, spicy. Oh, it's so good, so good.
Sweet Jesus.
Sweet Jesus is right. Sweet Jesus, Pat Bryant, Pat Bryant, the Illinois Jesus, as they would say. Yeah. So if you followed any of our draft spotlights the last probably couple months, we've been doing this now for the 2025 cycle. You
Yeah.
kind of know how the game goes, how they say order goes of everything. So I'm going to put up a graphic here. Got a little guy. Then we're going to put up some full screen stuff. I'll have 5 teams that I think would be great landing spots. And then I'm going to tag him in. Jay's going to tag team back again. And he's going to do what he does. Jay's going to cook. Jay's going to cook a little bit. Yeah, not just the meals he's been making. He's been making some fine looking dinners with his wife. He sent me videos and pictures of everything. Looks tasty as hell. But he's gonna cook because he's gonna go into depth about some dynasty stuff, some fantasy stuff for you. And I'm gonna keep it more of the draft end and then we come together with our thoughts. It's kind of how we put together our 30-minute spotlights here. But
Yep.
Pat Bryant. He's only a 3-star recruit out of high school. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. So we just had RJ Harvey, who we just covered. RJ was from Orlando, so a lot of Florida boys we've been covering with the spotlights. Didn't stay in state, ended up at Illinois, which is kind of an odd choice, but Illinois, he's a record breaker there, actually. Come to think of it, I mean, had 10 touchdowns this past year, which tied, I think, Brandon Lloyd. Remember Brandon Lloyd from the 49ers back in the day? I think he was
an old man. Old man.
Yeah, I think he was with the Broncos and 49ers back in the day, but Brandon Lloyd had the record at 10, and Pat Bryant tied that. So, it was a monster 10 touchdown reception season. For his career, he had 19 of them. So, that's right up there too. All-time Illinois. So you could almost argue, yeah, Pat Bryant's definitely an all-time Illinois receiver. And there's his high school career too. I included. He had at Atlantic Coast High School, 128 receptions, almost 2,300 yards, 23 touchdowns. So, nice 3-star high school career. Wasn't highly touted or anything. So it's amazing. I always get a kick out of that when these 2-star guys, these no-star guys, these 3-star guys, when they end up being, guys, buzz players at the NFL draft level or in rookie dynasty drafts. I always get a kick out of that, just the perseverance of these guys to basically, hey, nobody wanted me. I was a misfit toy. Nobody wanted me. Nobody thought I was good enough. And then to end up where they are now is amazing. I have his comp as Juwan Jennings. Now, this might be a little bit odd, like Eli. I don't know if he's exactly an ex-receiver, but he filled in nicely this past year when Brandon Ayuk went down with the 49ers. He filled in nicely, and he kind of served that role. And he's a similar size player. They're both 6'3". I think Juwan Jennings weighs a little bit more, but Pat Bryant should put on 5-10 pounds when he gets to the NFL, or maybe even by the combine. So they're gonna want to fatten him up a little bit, beef him up a little bit. And then I looked at his stats from Tennessee, because Juwan Jennings was a 7th-round pick out of Tennessee. Very similar college stats to what Pat Bryant put up, especially their biggest year. Their biggest year was like almost dead on for their career. Another power, power 4, power 5 school. So very similar there, very similar size. What I could project for NFL stats. That's why I also put Juwan Jennings. What I could project for NFL stats. Juwan had 975 yards this past year. So, he had a damn good season filling in as the de facto number 1 receiver. Normally he's their number 3, right? Which is what I think Pat Bryant could be at the NFL level. We'll get more into that as the stream goes along here, but I think that serves Juwan Jennings the best as being a number 3, but he filled in admirably at the number 1 and put up almost 1,000 yards. So a good comp there. And on a normal year, number 3 receiver, he has decent stats with the 49ers. One of the best, if not the best number 3 receiver in the league. So Juwan Jennings, I have as the comp. Some other comps that guys have thrown out there. Rashad Bateman. I'm not a big Rashad Bateman fan by any means. But similar skill set, similar body type, size.
I mean, there is one more we could slap out there. I mean, he could.
Oh, we will.
I'll mention that later.
Yes, Jay has. Jay's gonna have his floor, his middle, maybe probably more realistic, and then he's gonna have his ceiling. So Jay's gonna have his 3 levels. So just some of the guys I've heard thrown out there. Even Kenny Golladay. If you guys, if you're older fantasy fans, Kenny Golladay from the Lions and Giants, whatever it's been, 5-10 years since he's been relevant. But Rashad Bateman, Cedric Tillman from the Browns. He's the young receiver out of Tennessee. It's like I said, similar size, similar skill set. George Pickens would be a hot, that'd be a great, grab. He's got attitude for days. Don't get me wrong, but you end up putting some of the stats that George Pickens has. Nobody's going to complain, especially if Pat Bryant was a number 2 receiver somewhere. I mean, that would be out, really good numbers there. Keon Coleman from Buffalo, maybe even high end T. Higgins. But like I said, Jay will get into that as well. Just some of the names I've heard thrown out there, with comps. But you know what? I'm going to move it over, Jay. I'm going to move it over to the big screen here. Just go over his stats again. There we go. Bam! Got it on the right side. Boom. So yeah, he played. I mean, he played 4 years, but technically he really wasn't the man until probably
this year. Till this year, actually. His
I would
senior
say
year, he wasn't until the
because
man.
because we remember Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams was the Illinois #1 receiver from last year. So
Well, and
Pat
the
Bryant,
last couple
the
years
last
he was
couple years,
down there.
yeah. But so Pat Bryant didn't become the #1 guy until this year. He was just a #2, #3 receiver, and you can see with the stats there, he was only targeted 11 times his freshman year. Only had 98 yards. Second year, 34 catches, couple touchdowns, 450 yards. Not bad. Gotta cough up that bullshit. I got a hairball. God damn. All right. In the junior year, like we were talking about, he was behind Isaiah Williams. 67 targets, 560 yards, 7 touchdowns. So a little better, progressing. And then finally he reaches his crescendo. He got to 10 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards, 83 targets, 54 receptions. So, which was which was good enough to make him the number 22 fantasy receiver in college football this past year. So, just top 25 fantasy receiver, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I remember, we were talking quite a bit on the waiver shows about Pat Bryant, earlier in the year. Obviously he had a bunch of those 2 touchdown games earlier and he got nabbed up. But we'd always talk about like, wow, what a game from Pat Bryant, or you got to go get Pat Bryant. Like, how is he still available? And he whatever his roster percentage was at the time, I thought that was incredible. I don't know. Did you remember any of the thoughts we had earlier in the year when before he became like the Pat Bryant?
I think he was a good pickup, but spotty at the same time because he would have, because I mean he had the talent for sure. Don't get me wrong about that, but I think it wasn't really a consistent, back to back having touchdowns. You either have 2 touchdowns one game, miss one, and then the next game, a touchdown in there. So I mean, we're just more of the spotty when it came to the touchdown aspects of it.
Yeah, because the middle of the year was like was like the Sahara Desert. Some of those games, Oregon, Penn State, a lot of the the big boys, I guess you'd say, didn't do a whole lot, but he did catch it. He has caught a ball in 24 straight games. So basically, for the last 2 years, he's caught a ball every game. So you're going to get at least a little production if you started Pat Bryant every time. He wasn't going to go, completely MIA or get injured. I mean, some weeks were better than others, obviously, like Jay was saying, feast or famine. But there was some level of productivity with Pat Bryant. And then I'm going to switch it over to my last graphic here, Jay. There we go. Boom. Just kind of some of this stuff is doubling up, but we'll kind of just finish up the information. I'll see if Jay has any thoughts. But so I use 3 sources for the rankings to kind of determine what round I think he's going to go in, and just other sites too, just reading up on things and my own personal opinion. ESPN's ranking has him as the number 9 receiver, 56 overall. NFL Draft Buzz, who we use quite a bit, they have him at number 18, which is way low. I mean, he's not the 18th best receiver coming into this draft. I'm sorry. So Draft Buzz is way off there. Overall, number 146. And then Bleacher Report. I think Bleacher Report is very kind of where I'm at. I think that's probably my favorite source on him. Receiver number 13, number 114 overall, which would put him, like I said, it would put him in the mid to end 4th round, early day 3 guy, which is kind of where I think his standing is right now. 4th round projected pick, obviously. The size, I've heard anything from 6'3", 190 to 6'2" and 208. So I just kind of went with the middle ground there. He hasn't been officially, the combine hasn't happened yet, so things might be different. Maybe he weighs a little bit more. Maybe he's 6'2" and a half or something. I don't know. But he's 6'3", 200 pounds right now, runs a 4.56. So, not ideal for an X receiver. You'd like, you'd like a little bit under a 4.5. It's like 4.45 or 4.46, 4.41. He ain't Jameson Williams. He ain't gonna run a 4.25. Nobody's gonna confuse him with that. But he's not football slow by any means. Like he's not out there, sluggish or anything. And I remember Amon Ross St. Brown ran like a 4.64 or something, 4.65, and just happens to be one of the best receivers in the league now. So Devontae Adams had about a similar 40 time to what Pat Bryant, and Devontae is probably going to the Hall of Fame. So, 40 times. Jerry Rice, another guy, didn't run a great 40. So 40 is sometimes it's overrated and it's, just football speed. But and just ice cream
Calm
bar.
down. Calm down.
I know. I'm going to get an ice cream bar here, or maybe I won't. Senior, 3-year starter at Illinois, obviously, was kind of playing second, third fiddle for a couple years and became the man this past year. Second team All Big Ten. I mentioned single season touchdown record, third all time in career reception touchdowns. So, he's an all timer at Illinois in terms of being, a receiver. Hometown mentioned that, and then the NFL comp once again, Juwan Jennings, who I think he has the most likelihood of having an NFL career similar to. You cooking up some thoughts over there, big boy?
Yeah, I was just looking back. I had while we're I went back
ice cream bar while you're talking.
So I went back to kind of take a look at where we actually talked about Pat Bryant. It was actually week 5 of the college fantasy week that we mentioned everybody to go out and get him picked up. It was probably kind of the week 4ish, but picked him, try to have him picked up for week 5. Pretty much he faced off against the Cornhuskers, 5 receptions, 74 yards, came up with 2 touchdowns during the game. And the other thing about this guy too, he doesn't have to do a lot with the targets he gets. So the minimal targets he actually maximizes what his volume is. He had with under 10 targets, he had 5 receptions, 74 yards. That was with under having under 10 targets a game. So this kid, I think he maximizes his output with with not getting a lot of targets. But he's
I was going to say quick, Jay. I noticed that too. He was very efficient, and I love efficiency. There are a few games. I think it's on the bottom there on the ticker, but I think he had that big game against Rutgers, where he was targeted. Yeah, he was targeted 13 times, caught 7 balls. So that was, but most of the time, if he was targeted 5 times, he'd catch 5 balls. Targeted 3 times, caught 3 balls. Very very efficient. And he only had one. Jay, he only had 1 drop all year. So he's got, guys got some hands on him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he pretty much had 19% of the team's target shares at that time. He was only 28% started too, during the college fantasy year, which wasn't a whole lot. So if you knew about him, you were starting him, especially if they were in deeper leagues and stuff like that. But he was kind of a spicy start against Penn State, in that week 5 matchup.
Yeah, there ain't nothing spicy about this ice cream bar though. This is pretty damn good. This is Breyers. No, not at all. I'm gonna put up. Are we ready for the 5 teams? Ready? We are.
Yeah, so I think so.
Okay. All right, I'll put this aside for a second. I think the Bengals need some help. Yeah, whatever. It's a fuck it day. Okay, me and Jay have been through a lot lately. So this is therapy for us. This ice cream bar is therapy for me.
It can't be any worse than me not getting my ghost greens from fucking GNC who denied me my $100 bill, and it's like, come on, bro.
Yeah, where he's at the GNC store, they're going under, so I think they're closing the 25th of this month.
Yeah,
so they're so they're gonna be they're gonna be liquidating everything probably the next week, like a couple days or something, and so he's just they wouldn't take $100 bill he was giving out, he's trying to pay with, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna come back in a couple days when you fuckers are clearing out the inventory, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna use this $100 and get 5 times the amount of items,
Yeah.
So whatever. I'll be patient here.
Uh,
Have
I'll
fun finding
I'll
a
play
job,
the long
okay?
game. I'll play the long game here. But yeah,
Anyway,
let's get into these
back to the regularly
these picks.
scheduled programming.
Uh,
So Pat Bryant, best landing spots. I had a little blip on the previous graphic for the landing spots, but this is the full list of 5. Excuse me. I'm going to put the Bengals at number 1 because I think he'd be a nice replacement for T. Higgins. I really do. They need some cheap labor. Joe Burrow was just talking about that. I think he's been, I think the last few days, week, I think that's kind of been the story about Burrow is he's like, well, the Eagles are paying everybody. We just need to figure out this cap. So Burrow is willing to adjust some stuff, but I know he wants to keep T. Higgins. He wants to keep the pass rusher's name that slips my mind. Trying to think of their stud pass rusher. Used to be with the Saints. Had a big year.
Yeah,
with
I'm not
Cincinnati.
sure.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
pay
just I'm
attention
trying
too much to defense.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, we don't. This isn't one of those leagues. No, but so they're trying to make some cap room for everybody. Just I don't know. I think T. Higgins will be the odd man out. Just knowing the Bengals' history, they're cheap. So you bring in
maybe Pat Bryant can join up with his teammate, because he's with the Bengals. Isaiah Williams, he's with the Bengals, who was he was a rookie last year. So
Isaiah back up with Pat Bryant. Although that didn't work out too well for Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, but
yeah,
Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson was the stud defensive sack artist from the Bengals. I was thinking of, but you know what? I put the Bengals number 1. Makes the most sense. He'd be a nice. I don't know if his ceiling is going to be as high as T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins is really when he's on, he can be elite. Like if Jamar Chase was out hurt, T. Higgins would fill in nicely as the number 1. So that he's got that type of potential. Really good number 2. Titans, I put at number 2. Jay. They need a bunch of help. What don't they need? Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's flaky, and he's just I don't know. I've never been, maybe his second year in Atlanta, but I've been out on the guy for 5 years. I don't really mess with Calvin Ridley too much. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet. I mean, that's yet to be determined. They're going to draft somebody if they're going to get Darnold or Cousins or God forbid Aaron Rodgers. Just could be a bad situation in Tennessee. So they need some bodies. I think Pat Bryant would fit in nicely. They need a big outside receiver. He's that. And so him and Ridley might actually make a decent combo. They had Ridley and D-Hop for a little bit, and
he was long gone.
The problem was Will Levis. The problem was Will Levis.
I mean, pretty much they have Tyler Boyd, who came from Cincinnati. I mean, he might not be there too long. They drafted Juwan Jackson, who was a Tulane guy. Traylon Burks, he's first round total bust. I mean, they need to move on from this guy. This guy, I mean, he can come. Pat Bryant can come in and take over Traylon Burks' role pretty.
We knock. I mean, on this show, we knock Quentin Johnston and a lot of the TCU guys. We knock TCU guys left and right. But at least Quentin Johnston had 8 touchdowns this year. What the hell has Traylon Burks ever done? Traylon Burks needs to be out of the NFL. He needs to be playing for the San Antonio Brahmas. he needs to be in the whatever the hell it is, UFL. That's where he needs to be. He's awful. Traylon Burks, awful. Bust. One of the worst first-round receivers ever taken. Let's see. Panthers, I'll put it number 3. Because why the hell not? Panthers need some help. They traded away Jonathan Mingo last year to the Cowboys, so he was kind of he's supposed to be their big outside X receiver. Didn't work out like that. Adam Thielen, I keep doubting him. He's 85 years old, but the guy keeps being productive. I mean, how are you going to bet against? How the hell are you going to bet against Adam Thielen, especially in fantasy, when he keeps showing up every year and does the best? Imagine if he had a good quarterback again. Bryce looked a little bit better towards the end of last year, but imagine if he had a Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. I mean, Thielen, I think he might have signed with the wrong team. He might still be putting up 1,000-yard years if he had been, with a different situation. So keep betting against Adam Thielen, but he'll be there. More than likely, the Jatavian Sanders, the tight end. I don't know if he's going to have a breakout year. I doubt that. We know we know Jonathan Brooks is hurt again. So they need some firepower on offense, man. They got to, if this is kind of the make or break year for Bryce, they need to give him another weapon. Pat Bryant's going to, big outside guy. He went to Illinois, but he's a Southern boy, so I think he'd fit in nicely in Charlotte and Carolina. So put the Panthers 3, and on the bottom 2, as you probably Captain Obvious. We put the pick. The number of the pick that the team has in the round. So, obviously I projected 4th round. So these might be realistic spots, because the Broncos have been floated out there. The Bengals have been floated out there, Titans. So, there's been reports on all 3 of those teams for sure. And there's probably some Panthers, Raiders too. So these are all accurate teams for the most part, I would say. Maybe the Cowboys would be a 6th team if we added them into
no
this
way. A.T. Perry is a Bronco, which is nuts.
What? Oh shit!
Yeah.
So A.T. Perry, not Katy Perry, but A.T. Perry. He was a Saint. He was a Saint last year, or a couple years. He's decent, but this might take Pat Bryant off the table. This could be big news for my number 4 here, because A.T. Perry has a very similar skill set to Pat Bryant. So maybe that takes Denver off the board, but still, we'll just, for shits and giggles, we'll say, maybe this 4th round pick hits. Troy Franklin, very questionable, but maybe Pat Bryant hits. They need weapons. They need cheap labor. The Broncos need 2 things. They need weapons and cheap labor. And Pat Bryant is both. So tip of the cap for the A.T. Perry trade there. At least they're trying. I mean, they got rid of Tim. I don't know if they really need to get rid of Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick actually looked pretty damn good with the Lions last year, in spots.
Yeah.
So I know they moved off him, but so we'll see what happens in Denver. But I put them at number 4, and then Raiders at number 5. The Raiders, because I promised, I said they'd be in every top 5 list, and so far they have. They've been in every list we've done of potential landing spots for these guys, because the Raiders, they ain't got much anything. I don't even know, is Jacoby Myers a free agent, isn't he?
He might be.
They traded Devontae. Who the hell else do they have? Trey Tucker?
Yeah,
he's a little slot guy.
Hey, it was funny. You know what? I was right about Trey Tucker, and you and Mr. PT over there kind of laughed at me when Trey Tucker was irrelevant and became relevant.
Trey actually had a few nice games, but I mean, he's not. Come on now, he ain't. He's never gonna be a.
Think about this. Think about this. Their wide receiver 1 is Jacoby Myers. Our wide receiver 2, Trey Tucker. Wide receiver 3, Terrence Marshall. My favorite washout from LSU. But
the more he goes down the depth chart, the more I want to cry.
But I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it is what it is when it comes to the Raiders. They're going to need a lot of help when coming to that aspect of everything. But yeah,
just a little bit. It's pathetic. I'll wrap this up, and then Jay can get into some of the metrics there, some of the dynasty thoughts that we have, some more fantasy based. But yeah, the Raiders. I mean, the cupboard's bare. I'm sorry, but when Terrace Marshall is your number 3 receiver, you got issues. So Pat Bryant immediately, in my opinion, would be an upgrade over Terrace Marshall. So if Pat Bryant went to the Raiders, he goes to the Raiders, he could actually, if they use 3 receiver sets, he could be starting year 1. So that actually might be, and he's kind of a raw prospect, as people have noted. I think the Raiders, for fantasy wise, the Raiders might be the best option, because I think he'd actually get on, or Bengals or Raiders, one of those 2. I think he'd actually get out there and and be a big factor.
Yeah, for sure. Now, since Eli kind of gave you some of the, just regular, breakdown of just the NFL draft in general. Some of the, I'm going to give you some of the dynasty stuff here. My thoughts on Pat Bryant and myself.
Tag him in. Get it.
So honestly,
Yeah.
I had to take a look back quick at like some of the, some of these guys that were second round, third round, fourth round, some of these guys, fifth round and sixth round. And I think Pat Bryant can stack up, I mean, we really didn't see a whole lot from Adonai Mitchell. Because he was, down the depth chart a little bit, with the Colts, so he didn't really see a whole lot of playing time. He saw some, but not a whole lot. But so I think lands into a spot he could probably play better than him. Third round, we had Malachi Corley, who was actually a Jet guy. I was kind of a fan of him, smaller school, Western Kentucky or whatever hell he came from. He went to the Jets, really didn't play some. I drafted him, and then I'm like, yeah, probably no good.
Corley was trash.
Yeah. Another third round, Roman Wilson, a Michigan guy who we thought he would have been bloomed in this, the Steelers offense. No, not at all. Not the case. I mean, one of my favorites is Devontae Walker, UNC guy, the taller fourth round guy. And, so I'm just like, well, I mean, if he lands to a spot where, it's crowded, he's not going to be able to play. I mean, he's not going to, evolve to what so these are just some of the guys I was kind of taking a look at. I mean, we could probably put in a couple other guys from fifth round, sixth round, but these are some of the guys that I, a little higher up rounds that really didn't do a whole lot where I think he can, excel over some of these guys. I mean, Mitchell may, if Mitchell gets a little bit more playing time, that might be a different story. But, some of the guys I mentioned, I think he can play better than a lot of those guys.
I'm honestly not that high on Adonai Mitchell. I saw him his rookie year. I don't see much there.
It was kind of, it was kind of hit and miss. I mean, they had quite a few weapons there. I mean, Josh Downs, I mean, slot guy.
I think Alec Pierce is better. I think Alec Pierce is a better receiver. I know he's more experienced, but like I'm not. So a lot of the guys Jay was mentioning that were, people that we think Pat Bryant could be a better NFL receiver or better fantasy option than. Tez Walker, all these guys, Tez Walker, Malachi Corley, and even Adonai Mitchell. Like I think Pat Bryant's got a higher ceiling than all those guys.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and last year he took over that, wide receiver one role with Illinois, and the last couple of years, and he was kind of down the depth charts a little bit. So I mean, he finally got to kind of. I think if he would have had 1,000 yards, receiving, I think that would have kind of blown the top over, everything. The 10 touchdowns, I like that. I mean, double digit touchdowns, that's kind of nice. Yep. I just think, I mean, as much as we love Pat Bryant, I mean, he's a chain mover, but he's got to he's got to fall into on a team where he's going to be able to, step in right away, maybe be the RB or not RB, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 aspects.
He did. Kind of those Jay, he did have 2 carries for 10 yards in the game this year. So he might be an RB1. We don't know.
But I mean, some of the 40 times I was looking at last year too here. Javon Baker, 4.54, Keenan Coleman at 6.41. I mean, really kind of slow, and Pat Bryant's a little bit quicker than this guy. Jalen Polk 4.52. So I mean, Pat Bryant's he's not really a speedster. He's limited on the speed, but I mean, he's quick in some aspects. You can see some of the strengths and weaknesses over there too as well. I mean, he's got strong hands. I mean, his catch rates, it's 69%. Yeah, I mean, he had 15% of Illinois' target share over there, and he was also seeing almost 5 receptions a game. So I mean, and this guy has the red zone target. I mean, he saw 7 receptions, 4 touchdowns in the red zone, and that was, a 57% efficiency in the red zone, and 9 of plus 20 yards, for explosive plays, last year. So, I mean, this guy's got some speed to him. Little downfalls, I mean, he might have some separations because of the speed limitations, he might have to up in his route running. Not that he's bad not even that he's bad. It's just some of the things don't have, and the draft capital, but then where he's going to be, what team is going to be landing on and whatnot. So that's going to be a lot of aspects in that. But I mean, the size of catch radiuses, that's a plus. Physicality, the red zone potential is up there too. 57% in the red zone with there's a lot of his targets there as well. But I just, some of the 40 times I just thought it was kind of a neat little kind of toss some of that stuff up in there. But so with ceiling cut, so let's go to the floor first. The floor, his possibility if he gets down there in ways. He could be equivalent of Equanimeous Saint Brown. He's kind of a guy that's not really in there, and just a guy
Is that the
doesn't.
bad? The bad Saint Brown brother?
Yeah, the bad Saint Brown brother. Yes,
Ah,
the
ick,
taller Saint,
ick,
the taller one, but I mean,
ick.
just to think about it, I mean, it just you know, and he has some upside a little bit, limited fantasy relevance, no command and no, not commanding any role in any offense or anything like that. Um, the mid comp, maybe a Brian Edwards, big wide receiver struggles to, a little separation, but I mean, but he flashes at the same time, So I mean, a lot of that's going to let it vary in where he's going to land to. So I mean, great game, but
Brian Edwards was with the Raiders, right?
yeah, I believe so. Yep, I was gonna look him up, and I'm like, "Hey, Brian," I'm like, "That name sounds familiar," but I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
I remember back in the day, Braylon Edwards, from the old Jets and Browns, but Brian
Yeah,
Edwards.
yeah. Ceiling comp, maybe a Josh Palmer. I threw in there, a little bit of a Roma Dunzi. Kind of similar traits to him. Especially with the hands and catching, and some of his route, but not quite elite, but I mean similar roles. It's kind of similar play style somewhat. But I also put in there a T Higgins. I think this guy can fall. Because T Higgins, he is always kind of that wide receiver too. And when Chase was out, wide receiver one, he could play that role pretty good. But I just think T Higgins always been a wide receiver too, most part. So I mean, this is where Pat Bryant could end. He probably could succeed in. It could be a great possession, and he can be a great possession receiver too as well.
And that's what I thought about. That's why I thought
Yeah,
about Juwan Jennings. It's like I think
yeah,
he can be more versatile than just an outside guy. I think
yeah,
you could line up Pat Bryant in a bunch of different formations, and he could be successful.
yeah.
And some of the comps you were mentioning. Edwards is like I think he'll be better than Brian Edwards. T Higgins definitely. I can see it there. Being a like ceiling as I don't see him being a number one. I don't see him being like, holy shit, all
Yeah.
pro Pat Bryant, but he can be a highly productive fantasy guy and you're going to get great value for him.
Yep.
So and like I have Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings had a fine year. T Higgins as a ceiling, I don't mind that. And the Saint Brown brother, I don't know.
Equanimeous Saint Brown.
Equality,
Yep.
Saint Brown.
But so draft projections for rookie drafts right now, he's not going drafted at all. But I think once the combine's going to hit, and some of us that kind of know about him, he probably, he's been drafted in the 4th round. But I think, once people start noticing, I think his rookie draft stock's going to be a 3rd or 4th rounder in those aspects. But some rookie draft floors, maybe undrafted waivers, very, in depth chart kind of guy. The likely outcome, maybe a 4th or 5th round if you got, a stash in deeper formats. And then the ceiling, maybe a late 3rd, 4th round, which I got up there for draft projections at all. So I mean, those are just some late, just some game thoughts or rookie thoughts for your draft coming up too as well.
Yeah, we did with our friend or JT the brew did a mock draft with him and a couple other guys. It was a lot of fun, but we did 3 rounds, and so I get what Jay was saying. We were mentioning some of the 4th round might have included players like Pat Bryant. If we had gotten to that level, we just had a 36 player 3-round draft. So it's it'll be interesting to see. I noticed some of this stuff too. He has issues with separation. I think they're aware. I think Pat Bryant and his team, I think they're aware of like, okay, this is why you're day 3 guy right now is because you're a little too skinny. You need to work on your route tree a little bit, work on separation. So, but because he would have been, how do I put it? Like bombs away, like Russell Wilson. That's why I think the George Pickens comp is okay because, or some people floating that out there because I think he's a guy you could also just throw it up to and be like, hey, go catch a 50-yard bomb. Just bombs away. Here's Burrow, here's Josh Allen. Here's even Russell Wilson. Here, just lollipop that shit. I like where things are sitting with Pat. We have him, fourth round in a dynasty rookie draft. So you're getting, I think you can get a lot of value from him. I really do. There was some other players that a few of the other guys in the draft mentioned. Elijah Arroyo from Miami, the tight end. Riley Leonard, quarterback from Notre Dame. Kind of in that same realm. Position wise, are there some other receivers, Jay, that he might be in the, like, is Ty Felton in that kind of that fifth round mix, or is he a little bit higher?
I mean, he hasn't even been drafted at all. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so
names like Ty Felton and some of these other guys that really haven't been drafted, I think they're going to be getting bumped up, and then a lot of people are, So I mean, just a lot of these names that we haven't really seen yet. I think some of these names are going to be kind of creeping up, especially like a Ty Felton and whatnot. I think he'll kind of creep up there too as well.
Yeah. Who else would be in that mix? Jack Besh. I think Besh was going.
Yeah.
Going a little bit.
Yeah. He'd be another guy that probably would sneak up there too, in my eyes. I mean, there's a few other too.
Yeah, we're just trying to give you a couple names of a couple guys that would be where he is projected to be drafted in a dynasty rookie draft, like Savion Williams. I'm not big on TCU guys. No, he's a big 6'5" receiver. He'd probably be in that mix. Maybe Torrey Horton from Colorado State. Torrey was hurt a lot this past year, but had a big 2023, I remember. So I think a couple of those guys might be in the same ballpark as Pat Bryant.
Yeah, I think
expect.
I think Wester too as well. Peyton
LeJontay Wester, yeah.
He
had similar fantasy stats too, Jay. I think Wester was right, top 25 fantasy receiver himself. So his numbers were right there with him. Draft wise, Wester might go a few rounds lower, might be a 6th round pick or so. But so they're trying to find guys in that ballpark that you can look at and to kind of just decide for yourself, like, what's my preference.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. I'll have to agree with some of that too as well. But we're gonna get this this one wrapped up
in the books.
Yeah, in the books, and then so we can move on to our next one.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yep. I hope everybody enjoyed the content here. If you please like and subscribe to our channel. I mean, so you can get more of this, and sooner or later, I mean, we'll probably get into a bunch of other stuff here later on down the road. But right now, we're just trying to pump out, mock drafts and college spotlights until the NFL, until the draft happens, and then we'll wrap up our last one and whoever that might be, and then we'll kind of go on to maybe talking about college, some other college stuff too as well. But other than that, make sure you subscribe, like, share, subscribe to their X, follow us on Instagram. The link is free to our Discord. Jump up in there, and it's free to listen to us on Apple and Spotify as well.
We're a bunch of different places, bunch of different ways to get us. If you want to pay for us, I'm a cheap whore, but if you want to pay for us, I get it. You want us for free? Sweet Jesus, I can work that way too. We're working a bunch of different positions.
Hey, brother.
We need.
He'll
right. We'll that ice cream. I'm still tasting that ice cream. No, but so we need some players. So anybody that comes across us, if you have some suggestions for some spotlight players, we're all ears. If you probably want to double check the playlist to see, make sure we haven't done this guy already. But we're open to any. Mainly skill position guys, as we usually keep it, because that's usually what we focus on: quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends. So if you have any of those 4 positions, guy that's not getting a lot of love, we had somebody suggest. I mentioned him a couple minutes ago, Elijah Arroyo, a tight end from Miami. Maybe he'd be a possibility, or another running back. I wouldn't mind digging back into the running back pool again. So it should be a lot of fun, and and I appreciate everybody whenever you come across this. Appreciate you listening, and help us spread the word.
Yeah, that's for sure. Other than that, well, I'm Jamie. That's Eli. We're from Auto Rhythm, and we'll catch you guys on the next one later.